Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to welcome everybody. My name is Paolo Frontier. I serve as president of the Global Policy Institute. As a professor of political science and international relations here at the Bay Atlantic University. I'm very pleased that we could work with our colleagues here. As GPI, we are also mandated via an agreement with the university to try our best to enrich your experience as students by bringing to you experts in different areas. And we already had two very successful events. One focused on the area of political science and international relations, and the other one on general education. And now we're very pleased to have here for the business program, great experts. And I have very pleased to have you, my good friend and neighbor, Angela, and her, mentees, I should say, people she worked with in the past. She will explain all that. Anyway, I just wanted to welcome everybody, and hopefully this is a practice that we will continue, in the next semester and further. And so it's an aspect of our cooperation of Global Policy Institute and Bay Atlantic University. Professor?
Evening. Thank you for being here. So before we dive into the discussion, I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists. Each one of them brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table, and we are very fortunate to have them here tonight. So I'm going to start with Angela Petrez. Angela Petrez is a former Accenture organization change management consultant and a certified professional proactive leadership professional development coach, and has spent more than 15 years serving the higher education space at 4 reputable schools of business: American University, George Washington University, Georgetown University, and UC Berkeley. She most recently served as assistant dean of experiential learning at American University. So welcome.
Thank you.
And Mason Kashipur, correct? All right. Mason is a seasoned product manager currently with Capital One, where he leads the development of innovative analytic products with a decade-long background in product management at industry leaders such as PayPal, CVS Health, Fannie Mae. Mason brings extensive experience from multiple Fortune 500 across industries, including financial services, healthcare, and tech. Welcome. Bhagyashree Moray. Bhagyashree Moray is a sustainability and finance professional with a diverse international background in ESG research, investment strategy, and climate finance. She holds a Master's of Science in Sustainability Management from American University, where she was awarded a merit-based scholarship, and a Master of Science in Finance from Grenoble École de Management in France. Bhagyashree career journeys span continents, starting from her foundational work in consulting and financial services with Ernst & Young and KPMG in India, where she led client accusations and compliance projects for major financial institutions. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get into the exciting part of this program, we would like to extend our thanks to the GPI team, especially Professor Paolo Boncheras, President of GPI, and Janice Stago, Business Operations Coordinator and analysts. Thank you so very much. Without your diligent work, this event will not have been possible. So thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Langani. For those of you that do not know, she is now the Department Chair of Business and Economics. I'd like to give her, as well as our panelists, a round of applause. All right, let's begin by having our panel open to discussion by providing insights and best practices on how to give compelling business pitches to venture capitalists, Shark Tank style. Feel free to jump in as you see fit, and we'll keep things conversational. With that being said, let's start with the basics. What, in your view, is the most critical element of a successful pitch, and how can entrepreneurs ensure they're getting that element right?
It's a really great question. Yeah, there are many critical elements. So to pick one, you said the most critical.
That's correct.
For me, I think it would be a sound financial model. There are so many other aspects that you have to have really strong, but that sound financial model is going to be critical of what are projected revenues, what are projected expenses, knowing it well, trying to be as accurate as you can at this very, very early stage, because you're all in the idea stage, from what I understand. So how can you figure out what the financial model might be? So having that accurate model is going to be critical. So doing whatever research you need, using different financial models that you can pull from. Don't just pull from one, I would say. Be confident in your numbers. There are different methods that you can use to figure out what the best financial model will be for your particular industry or your particular business, depending on competition, the market you're going to enter into, who you're targeting. Is it going to be B2B, B2C? So my answer is the financial model, the financial plan that you have.
I just wanted to.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is great to focus on the financial model, but that's the content. I want to also add the delivery. So being authentic, and when it's time to pitch, just be yourself, be clear, have focus, don't go all over the place. Just have your point in your head, deliver it, nail it, and get out of the room. So not only having great content, you have to have great delivery.
I think lastly, what I would say is that passion is super compelling. That's what even investors are also looking at. So passion plus your great data, your great financial model, and your delivery. I think that should be like a really great formula to your solid pitch.
Hey, thank you so much for your feedback regarding the importance of the key elements of financial modeling, market analysis, target audience, and delivery, as well as your passion. Going on that theme, or going along with that theme, one of the hardest aspects of pitching is communicating both passion and professionalism. How can an entrepreneur balance enthusiasm with the business acumen that investors are looking for?
I'll take that. So as I mentioned, like passion is compelling, your story is important, but what needs to be focused on, I mean, where you strike a balance is that your story is great, what product you're selling, the why is very important. So what your product is going to do, what the market opportunity is, your research, your homework on what are the numbers that you're looking at, what opportunity you're going to create, what opportunity it is for the investors as well. If you kind of put that together very well, I think that's going to work beautifully.
I can add something.
Yeah.
So I think during the pitch, you have to talk about yourself. You have to talk about your idea, but make sure when you show your passion, that's like must. But you have to also ground everything and back up everything in real data. Just do not exaggerate. So you have a great idea, you think that you can make it happen, but you have to back everything with the data, with the real data, with your research. Just make sure that you balance out that passion. You don't want to come across as a person who's just excited without having the facts in place. So just backing up your ideas with some evidence and data.
I agree with both of you, and I would also like to say, okay, you're gonna show passion, but also composure and professionalism is huge. So knowing your stuff, having the data is gonna be critical because they're gonna poke at you and really ask you every single level of questions. So to be ready for them, but to show composure and stay cool and be able to field the questions. So yeah, I just think composure is critical, and that has a lot to do with emotional intelligence, which we had spoken about earlier. To have emotional intelligence, be aware of your body language, your tone, your own emotions that you might be feeling in that moment, and keeping it together while also reading the room and seeing what are the investors looking like, what's their body language is going to help you in your delivery. So yeah, passion, but also just pay attention to the people in the room and what are they looking like, and then speaking to that, kind of adjusting your language according to what the investor body language and language words are telling you.
Hey, thank you so much for your feedback. Throughout our course, we really heavily focus on our why. Whether that was through what motivated us as individuals to decide to choose to become entrepreneurs, whether that was a social cause, but ultimately it was your why and your need and the problem that you're trying to solve. In addition, we focus heavily on data analysis as well, to your point. Understanding who your audience is, understanding why you're doing what you're doing allows you to interact with plenty of investors, allows you to connect with them as well. I like the fact that you brought up emotional intelligence. We very often talk about the entrepreneur mindset and the importance of having one. That is a person that traditionally exhibits significant resiliency, self-awareness, understanding of their strengths and weaknesses, and a continually growth mindset. So thank you so much for your invaluable input on that topic. In regards to the preparation, because I believe that's, in my personal opinion as an entrepreneur, was the key to my success. So if preparation is key, how much research should an entrepreneur do on an investor or investment firm before making a pitch? What kind of information should they focus on to make the pitch more compelling?
How much research should someone who's pitching to the investor do on the investor themselves?
Yes.
Yeah. I personally would do a lot of research on who the investors are, know who's in the room, know who you're speaking to when you know your audience. Like I just went around and met everyone here just because I kind of want to know who's in the room. I met 2 people from Yemen, 3 people from Colombia, someone from the Congo. Amazing people in this room. So it gave me a feel. To know who your audience is going to allow you to really pitch to them, know their backgrounds, what kind of thinking they might have, and playing to that. Know if someone has a certain temperament or whatever kind of business they might have had themselves. That's going to allow you to tailor your pitch. So I'd say do a great deal of research on the people that you're pitching to. Understand also how much, maybe how risk averse they might be. I would imagine all the VCs in the room or whoever you're pitching to are going to be risk averse, but know the kind of money they're willing to spend or percent of a company they might want to take so that you're prepared and ready to tell them how much equity you're willing to give them, or, so know everything about those investors and be clear and be ready by even having questions prepared, points prepared on each person.
to add to that, I think every entrepreneur should, when it comes to preparations, I would say that they have to do a thorough research on who the investors is or are, because there's going to be a whole panel and there will be industry experts. So you have to understand what their expertise are, because that's where the questions are going to come in, and they will understand how well you understand the market and you understand how well your product is going to do once you launch it, once it takes off, like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, what kind of opportunity it creates. So those are the kind of questions these investors are going to ask you based on their expertise. Another kind of lost. All right.
No problem. I can add some.
Yeah,
points
sure.
for it,
Meanwhile,
then we can
I
get
can
back to
again.
you next. Yeah. I just wanted to add, so you are not researching the investors for the pitch session. You have to investigate them for the follow-up negotiation in case you have an opportunity. So being ready for the entire process happening right at the pitch competition. So it's really important. And so I will say, go and research them, read their LinkedIn post, try to find previous companies that they have invested in. So if you know about like the pitch book, do you guys know about the pitch book? So it's a great tool. It's probably you can have some access through your school or any probably a friends. It's a very expensive tool, but it gives you all the information about those investors, what other companies they have funded so far, also the type of values and the type of, it's important because, for example, some investors only focus on early stage startups. Some of them do not invest in you until you have $1 million of revenue. So PitchBook gives you all those information about the investors, but not only them, you have to also analyze and investigate their competitors. So if you are pitching to venture capital X, you have to know everything about venture capital B and C and Y and Z, who are competitors of that venture capital in case you need to negotiate with them. So use the tools. There are lots of great tools out there, specifically PitchBook. If you get a chance to kind of get into that tool, it's really, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to add, lastly, I think one thing you should also know that so when at what stage you are actually pitching, so because this is just the idea, so it's early on, but you have to understand what kind of investor you're dealing with. So it could be an angel investor, it could be a venture capital. Now, all of these investors have very different role to play at a different stage of company. So an angel investor would probably care a lot about what your passion is, what your story is, because it's the start of the company, where your vision how visionary you are as an entrepreneur. So all of these things would matter to an angel investor. But when it comes down to, say, you have a mature company, you just need more funds, more capital to grow more in size. So then you're going to approach venture capital firms out there, and then private equity. Now, these guys are going to rely on numbers. These guys are going to rely a lot of data that you provide to them, your valuation, your financial model. So these are the kind of preparations, measures that you have to take before going on this pitch. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your feedback and recommendations for PitchBook. I love the fact that you talked about the valuation. I'd like to discuss that a little further. Many entrepreneurs struggle with the idea of valuation, especially when they're just starting out. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs to accurately value their company when they're seeking capital?
Yeah, I can understand how it would be a struggle to try to value your company when it hasn't even been launched yet. How do you know? How can you do it? You want to be as accurate as you can be. so that someone has an understanding that of what you believe the value of your company is, and you have to take into consideration the experts on your team, that is part of your valuation, what your expected revenues are, the impact you believe your product or service could make. There's so many factors, and in fact, there are lots of different methodologies you can use to pull from to understand how to value your company. The idea is to be as accurate as you can, and I think it's nothing's perfect, but you want to take a stab at it so that when you're talking to potential investors, they'll understand how much they could potentially invest in you. I might pass this on to you. Did I have more to say on that?
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea. I also wanted to add that specifically at the early stage, the evaluation is all about the story. So you don't really have any data. So, and even if you have some projection and research, it's just some, ideas. These are not like real facts. These are not your revenue from the past month. So it's more important that you create that story specifically at the earliest stage. So I have this like example, like Airbnb. If the story is that we're going to rent space and we are going to compete with Marriott or Hilton. So that's one story. The second story could be, a lot of millennials probably give up buying a house and they don't have a backyard to play with their kids and, hang out with friends. So we are going to create some experience for them to go to different houses and places and then have fun and hang out with the friends and family. So that's another story. With that story, you might come up with another valuation. So the first one is one story with one valuation. The second one is another story with another valuation. So focus on the story specifically at the early stage.
I'm just going to add saying that try and get professional help when it comes down to valuing your company, because I have seen pitches come in, I see deals come in every day, but the valuation numbers, they can be inflated as well, and they're shot down. They're shot down the minute, it reaches the investor's ears, because they know so much in the market and they know so much of the segment. So keep the number real, no inflation, please. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your response on that. Prioritizing expected revenues or projections, storytelling, as well as evaluations and impact. I know this is something that we've discussed in depth during our financial analysis portion of how we built our business plans in regards to the importance of properly forecasting, as well as not being too ambitious in regards to what your projections are. Making it as realistic as possible, and also analyzing the data in an unbiased position to ensure that you can determine if your business is actually viable before you invest your time, energy, and money. So thank you so much for that. I would like to go back to something that Angela mentioned earlier today in regards to emotional intelligence, and specifically what type of emotional intelligence do investors look for in a founder when evaluating a pitch? How can entrepreneurs show they have the resilience and adaptability investors often look for? And this is for all panelists as well. Not put you on the spot, Angela.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I think it's a great question. Yeah, how can you show emotional intelligence? So, yeah, I think it's like mentioned earlier, being able to, manage your own behavior as you're pitching, but really should to show resilience. You're saying, yeah, I mean, I think it's just the whole concept of having your own business. It requires a lot of flexibility and adaptability. You're going to have to show that you have that capability. So that might be by, I think, showing, it just goes along with the whole conversation that we had, showing a relaxed way, showing positivity, lots of energy, give off a lot of energy. The more energy you're giving off, the more you're going to attract the investors You want to show strength and confidence. I think standing strong, looking confident, even if you're not feeling like you're confident. All of this is part of showing how you are resilient. And you need to have stamina if you're going to run your own business, because it's like around the clock. So, yet maintaining positivity, even if you're exhausted. So you're probably, when you're pitching to investors, you're going to be exhausted because you would have stayed up forever to even get to that point of pitching. So just pulling together and showing professionalism and positivity, smile if you can. And you want to engage the investors. I think there might, I don't know if there's more to say on that. You're
I think I'm gonna keep this really short. I think what investors look at, apart from the models and all the technical side, I think how well connected you are, how well you build relationships, your resiliency, adaptability, growth mindset, how well you're going to sustain once you will hit the ground running. I think all of these characteristics are well judged. I know I've been in pitches, I've seen pitches, and the way entrepreneurs are judged, the way they show up, how they're dressed, solid white shirt. Oh, okay, he knows what he's doing. So yeah, these are the real things, that they're actually discussed in a pitch room behind the doors. Yeah.
Yeah, I echo everything Max and Angela said. I wanted to add one more thing. Most of the time we hear about product market fit, but for the investors, it's more like a problem people. So they want to understand if you are the right person to solve that specific problem. So two things, come to my mind that are important. One is resiliency, and the second one is adaptability. So you have to show them that if you get hit, you never give up. You get back on your foot, and then you can learn because your pitch, your business model is just an hypothesis, and you will learn that a lot of, a big chunk of that is wrong. Then you really start that business. So you have to prove, and you have to, bring all of your past stories in your life that show that first you are resilient, and you learn fast, and you correct course. So these two factors are really important when it comes to, showing that you are the right person to solve this problem.
Thank you so much for your feedback. Angela mentioned being relaxed, having positivity, energy, stamina, being professional and engaged with investors. Bags also noted the aesthetics and dress. How you present yourself is very important to your credibility. Immediately when you walk into the room, they're already going to be analyzing you subconsciously. Being able to own the room, being able to be comfortable in your own skin, understanding again both strengths and weaknesses help you ensure that you're in the best position possible. Maysam also pointed out something that I think is near and dear to every entrepreneur, the ability to identify a need and solve a problem. This also allows you to go on course with your storytelling, gain rapport with your investors, is really just sell what it is that you're trying to achieve. So thank you so much for those comments and feedback. So now that we talked about some things that entrepreneurs can do to improve their ability to conduct a pitch and hopefully secure funding, I'd like to talk about some practical insights or mistakes and lessons and key takeaways that you may have experienced as sharks or maybe venture capitalists or panelists on pitches. Specifically, what is the biggest missteps you've seen entrepreneurs make when pitching their idea, and what could they have done differently?
Oh my God, there are a lot. So, but I think that one thing that comes to my mind, and I saw that a lot in different pitch competition, is that people exaggerate. So they exaggerate to show their passion and to show that they really love to work on this idea. But again, I know that you love your idea. You thought a lot about that. You did a lot of research, but again, you don't know. Treat it as a hypothesis. It's not a fact. So you have to be passionate about that, but you have to be passionate about the problem, not your idea and solution. So maybe your idea is wrong 1 month after you start up your business, but that problem exists there. So you have to be passionate about the problem, not your idea and solution. And also during the pitch competition, a lot of judges gives, a lot of judges give, entrepreneurs a lot of feedback and really nuanced feedback. But, people are so excited and so focused on their pitch, they miss those hints that, hey, I need to probably address uh, this point that one judge brings. So, but I missed that. And then it's clear for, to judges that you don't listen and you're like really focused on your solution versus just,
Yeah.
seeing the bigger picture.
I just wanted to first clarify like, this idea, the pitch, are the students going to put up a presentation?
Yes, they will actually pitch Shark Tank style. Yes.
Lovely, okay, so they'll have a PowerPoint. Yes?
Yes, and
Yeah.
potentially some product examples if they choose to do so.
Okay, so I'm going to say that a lot of deals are flat out rejected just looking at the PowerPoint. In the real world, because it shows how lazy you are as an entrepreneur. So I would say be concise, be absolutely focused, make sure your point is getting across very well, which is what your product is, what your product is going to do, what kind of solution you are offering or bringing to the table, and then everything else, your data, your market research, your competition, and so on. Don't be lazy. Yes.
I love your examples. Thank you both. I had 3 things. I'd like to say, just playing off of what Bags just said, have a prototype. Some ideas to have a prototype there for the investors to see or touch or feel, to show that you've actually thought about it and tested it out. You could have tested it even just a bit, but that's powerful. So I see that can be missing, but also I think risk mitigation, have have a really clear understanding of how you intend to mitigate risk. And that's often not thought about in depth, so that the investors will really question you and poke at you to ask you questions to find out whether you've thought about the different angles and how risky is your business. So I think that probably is at the top for me, is risk mitigation, making sure that you thought of every angle so that you're showing the investors that you've at least thought of potential risks that could happen, legal risks, political risks, market risks, risks with people on your team, etc. So I think risk is at the top of my list.
Thank you so much for your feedback. I like the points that the panel has made, specifically about understanding the importance between passion about a problem versus a product and or service. Oftentimes we feel like we may have the best product or service out there, the newest and latest idea, something that has never been done before. And then as we research our business and we conduct our causative analysis, we realize that maybe it has been done before, and maybe it has been done better than what I have in my mindset. So it's very important that we're focusing on the problem versus the product and or service. I do like the point for the importance, and I believe my entrepreneurs also understand the importance of what we do regarding PowerPoint presentations. My class was heavily invested in the experiential learning problem set in regards to actually conducting pitches and presentations every week based upon each aspect of a business plan. Oftentimes, I know that they were always very, very excited to conduct those briefs and presentations. And then we also focus on being concise, making sure that when they're answering these questions, they do it within 3 to 5 minutes, no more than 10 minutes, and also have a feedback session following each presentation. So I hope that that really hit home regards to your statements and what we've actually worked on during the course. Last but not least, you discussed about having samples. Individuals, investors could actually, see the product, touch the product, kind of interact with the product, and that also gains rapport, support, and builds a relationship with your investors. And last but not least was risk mitigation. Oftentimes when we're entrepreneurs and we're developing businesses, it's very easy for us to have, the most optimistic end result, and we forget about how we can reduce risk throughout the entire business plan. That could be as simple as doing better market research, understanding how to potentially procure equipment and inventory through various means. Oftentimes, we would like to develop a business and then fully furnish with the business or equipment with all the latest and greatest technology and the brand new everything. And we found out that there's a great opportunity to increase your viability with being a little bit more conservative in how you spend your capital early on. Specifically, buying exactly what you need and reducing costs as much as possible to reduce your risk. With that being said, I would like to talk about the reality of pitches, and often the end results in those pitches are that they may not be successful. So since pitching can be emotionally draining, especially when you face rejection, what advice do you have for founders who face setbacks in their journey to secure capital?
I think being gracious is very important here for any kind of rejection. But keep building the relationship with the investor, take the feedback, work on it, and you never know. You can always come back and pitch again, and maybe at that time, once you're improved, they'll be happy to be a part of your venture. Yeah.
I think this is the part where resilience comes in and still standing with confidence and grace, as Bags was saying, but also hold in any feedback that you're hearing. It's just continuous improvement. You have a first iteration in your brain that's your idea. You want to continuously improve it and iterate it. So you're going to always make changes to it. It's constant. You're going to do it all the way through your business. So showing that you have that capability to constantly iterate and bring it back, and even speak about that iteration in your next presentation to the next set of investors. This is how I made the changes. I learned a lot from the past conversations, made it even better. That's showing resilience, adaptability, just being smart. Yeah.
Love the resiliency part. So I just give you my own experience, after rejection. Like I got rejected so many times. So one thing that helped me is having my support system, my support network. So as an entrepreneur, you're a lonely individual because you are going to take risks that nobody else will take. So that makes you more of a lonely person. However, you need to create that support system for you, and you will get a lot of rejection. So you just want to go and talk with your support system, your mentors, your coaches, your friends, your family, whoever can help you, get that perspective. And maybe they can also give you feedback and kind of analyze why you got rejected. So you can run that scenario by them, get feedback, and then course correct and improve your pitch for the next round. So I think I can't emphasize on the criticality of having this type of people around you, like-minded people, or just kind and supportive like friends or family, where you really need them.
I concur, definitely, totally agree. And I've had the chance to work with both Bags and Maysam. Maysam, when I worked at GW School of Business, he was an MBA student. Bags was a Master's of Sustainability student at American University School of Business. Both were international students. It's really hard as an international student, especially in Washington DC area where it's federal city, to make an impact as an international person. So to what Maysam said and Bags, I watch them both, and especially Maysam because I've known him longer, create a network. Like, boy, was that important and critical, especially as an international person here in this city. You're gonna need it even more. So I would say absolutely, you may think you don't know a lot of people, but I can help you with that. You probably do know a lot more people than you think. And everybody counts and everybody matters for support. So absolutely, your network is critical, whether you're here in this city or any city in the US, that is, speaking about the US.
Thank you so much. So some feedback that we had is be gracious if you get declined for funding. Of course, demonstrate your resiliency, understand and accept that you will hear more no's than you will do yeses, but always having that faith and knowing that one yes can be the change or that opportunity that you may need to be successful, or at least given an opportunity to implement a business plan. Adaptability, as well as having a superior network. I believe Mason also mentioned the fact that entrepreneurship is a lonely road. Oftentimes, a lot of people around you may not understand your motivations to pursue something so difficult, knowing that statistically the odds are against you. You see stats available through open research that maybe 5% of entrepreneurs actually are successful in raising $1 million in annual revenue. So also understanding that success is also determined by you and your own individual goals and not necessarily the success of entrepreneurs that may be in mainstream media. I also, something that was also near and dear to me in my entrepreneurial journey was perspective. Understanding that a no or rejection is not necessarily a loss, but a lesson learned. And understanding that, you either win or you learn versus you win or lose. And I believe if you have that optimistic and reliable mindset, your losses or setbacks are lessened because you have the mindset to overcome and do better next time by learning from any hurdles that you may encounter. So as we go to closing questions, final tips, and actionable takeaways, I'd like to ask two questions. The first being, if you can give one piece of advice to entrepreneurs looking to elevate their pitch and secure funding, what would it be?
Be authentic, just be yourself. And yeah, do your homework really well.
Know your stuff, know every angle, so you can answer the questions that are going to be thrown at you.
So I want to say that's storytelling. So if you have 4 slides, let's say the first one is about the problem, why this problem is important. The second slide is all the pains that people have because of that problem. The third slide is going to be all the current solutions that fail to address or successfully solve that problem. And the last slide is how your solution is better than everything else that will solve this problem and will alleviate that issue for everyone. So that's storytelling. Just be aware. Your slide, your deck is not your pitch. Your story is your pitch. Deck is just like some ideas, some facts, some data for the investors if they want to take a look at. So don't think about your slides. Think about your story, how you are going to solve this problem better than everyone else. And good luck. Have fun.
Thank you so much for your feedback on that. I do have one question left for the panelists, but before I move to that question, I really wanted to focus on authenticity. One thing that many of the entrepreneurs or students here at Bay Atlantic University have is a unique story set. Everyone or the majority of the class are international students. They all had their individual journeys, their individual experiences from the respective countries. And they also have the ability to understand different worlds by being open to studying abroad, right? And that's an important aspect of being an entrepreneur is to be courageous, to be fearless, and to go out and seek things that others traditionally would not do. So just by the very nature of your decision to study abroad here in the US as an international student, leave the comfort of your homes, shows that you have entrepreneurial mindsets and skill sets already. And all we have to do is focus on how we can harness and improve those weaknesses and strengthen the things that you are good at. So I never want to miss an opportunity to highlight the importance of your individual story as an entrepreneur. All right, finally, as our final question before we open it up to questions from the group as well as folks via Zoom, what is the one common misconception about pitching for capital that you'd like to dispel for our audience today?
Oh, can you please?
Yes.
repeat the question again, this one last part.
What's one common misconception about pitching for capital that you'd like to dispel for our audience today?
It's never always about numbers. Just so you know. It's everything. So bring everything you've got and just go for it. Yeah.
I want to say it's a pitch. So you are pitching your idea, but it's about the partnership. It's not that they are going to choose you. You are going to choose them as well. So it's a partnership. Think about this as, hey, do I really want to work with this? Or what else they can bring to the table other than money? Because you want their network, you want their brand, you want their own, the other portfolio companies that they have. Maybe you can work with them. You want their network with the suppliers. So think about it as a relationship, a partnership that you want to build. Not only that, I'm going to pitch and get like, I don't know, $1 million and I'm good.
Thank you so much for your final feedback on that. I think it goes back to relationships, as you stated, and research. There are so many opportunities for you to secure capital if you take the time to research all the options that are available to you. Specifically, a recommendation is always to look within your own industry for capital. And the reason why I say that is because they're more in tune to what it is that you're trying to achieve as an entrepreneur. They're more familiar with your business models, and they already have existing networks that they can leverage or introduce you to that can support your business concepts. That could be something in regards to tech. There's a lot of tech funding, especially for people of color, which the majority of the attendees here today could take advantage of. There's a really big promotion specifically in America for that to support entrepreneurs that may have been traditionally underserved. So that's always a great opportunity for everyone when you're trying to secure capital for your businesses to really understand your target market, your audience, what your industry is doing, the trends of those industries, and then trying to see if you can work your way backwards on how to secure enough funding to fund your startup and or any aspect of the business plan or phase of that business. So thank you so much for your feedback today. With that, without further ado, I'd like to open up for questions from the crowd here tonight and inside the conference room, and then we will open it up with Janice if there's any questions that may be posted via Zoom. So without further ado, do we have any questions from the audience in attendance here tonight?
Hello, I think it's just a point of clarification when you spoke about emotional intelligence. Closer to you. Like this? That's better, yes, I know it's good. So when you spoke about emotional intelligence, couldn't help but to hear that it was, so in my mind, emotional intelligence is something that is basically, yes, developed with time, but it comes naturally. So it's not something that you could acquire per se. I always believe that if you don't have it on you as an entrepreneur, basically a person who is looking to go the extra mile to do something different, you're never gonna be able to be all that. So my question ties into, can you please clarify how do you look at business intelligence, at basically the emotional intelligence aspect, and how can a person develop if you don't actually see that it's within the person, because that will be helpful.
I tend to feel that everyone has the capability of understanding how they can attain emotional intelligence. I think everyone has that capacity. There are really excellent books on it, there are podcasts on it. I definitely think it's attainable. So it's just learning to be more aware of yourself. If you feel like you're not, you can have someone work with you to bring it out, for you so that you can actually use it more. So I would argue that point with you to say, I think everyone in this room and everyone is able to tap into this emotional intelligence. So I wouldn't fear that. I'd say you can tune it, you can make it stronger if you feel like it's weak. Definitely be more aware of yourself, what's going on inside of you, how you can use that to your advantage when you're standing up in front of a room to pitch or to say, make a point in a presentation or whatever it is you're trying to do. You can do it. The emotional intelligence is attainable.
Totally agree with Angela. And I want to get to the point that working with a mentor or a coach will really help. So find people who are expert in this, or even find people who you think doing some of these aspects really well. And hey, I really want to do public speaking like that person. So let me study this person and see, what are the success factors, and try to kind of analyze those individuals who, you might be interested in some of their aspects of their emotional intelligence. But totally agree that it is, it's a skill. You have to get your reps to be better and better. It's not just by reading. You have to do it. You have to practice.
I'd also like to, you know, add on to the importance of being humble, understanding that you may be great at certain things, but you're not great at all of them. And being open to constructive criticism, being open to self-analyzation and understanding, and really being honest when you look yourself in the mirror. I think that is one of the most important aspects of an entrepreneur, being unbiased as to your performance. And then acknowledging that for every great win that you have or every success, it's less to do about you and more about the people that you have around you that made a project successful. And also on the reverse side of that, taking accountability for things that don't go well and taking complete ownership of those failures or those opportunities for lessons learned, because ultimately you are the decision maker, right? That's the importance of, I think, entrepreneurs, is to be humble and understand that you cannot do it alone, and to also acknowledge that it is, the result is yours to own as well. Do we have any additional questions from the crowd tonight? Adiza?
Good evening. So one of the things you said,
Come close to your mouth.
one of the things you said was about telling your story at the early stage when you have starting a business. So as an investor and even as a potential pitcher, uh, how do you evaluate or at least put it in terms of monetary gains? Like how do you analyze the story is valuable, and how can I make my story at least put it in financial terms also that you can understand it as well?
That's a great question. I think that first of all, that's the story. But if you do not back it up by some numbers, that's just the story. Okay, that's like more of a wishful thinking. So you have to approach it as a story that has its beginning, its peak, you know, those ups and downs. But you have to back it up with your data. So, for example, as I mentioned, slide one is about the problem. And is it a real problem that you're talking about, or is just a problem you think about, but this is not a real problem? So you show data. So your story, goes on, but your data is kind of backing it up. So okay, I'm going to talk about this problem. There's this big problem, and then here's the data. So a lot of like this problem brings a lot of pains to people. This is the data. So whether you do a market research or any kind of comparable analysis of the current, existing products or services, and then here's how I think the current products cannot solve that problem. Yeah, the data. And then here's how I think my solution is going to work. So again, if you have some data, if you interviewed, let's say, with 50 customers, so you really understand what they really need, you can show that data. If you do a market research, if you have attraction, maybe you have 100 users just based on your beta product or version. So these are all like when you marry the story with the real data, that makes it compelling and also something that people can trust.
That's the question.
All right, do we have any final questions from the room? All right, Janice, do we have anything via Zoom?
How often should I update my?
The question was, how often should I update my pitch?
I believe it should be based on the nature of your product or your business, because if it's more dynamic, like it's operating in a more dynamic market, for example, let's say it's very heavy on compliance. So regulations keep updating every time, and how that impacts your business, that's something that needs to be updated every time. So I think that, to summarize, it should be based on your business, your product.
Yeah, I agree. I also think, like we talked about earlier, iterations. The world is constantly changing around you, so to be aware of all the factors within the industry where your product or service lies is going to be critical. So I'd say every time you go in front of a new set of investors, always update your pitch, for sure. I wouldn't use the old pitch from the prior pitch or the prior set of investors, because things probably, I'd say every couple of weeks, even every week, I wouldn't give the same pitch twice. I would update it based on what you heard. I would update your pitch after you have the class next week. You'd always look at it and make adjustments to it. It's just constant iteration. Folding in what you're hearing from the industry, all new data, you might make tweaks to it. Yeah, I wouldn't use the same pitch twice.
I was just want to add one more thing here, and I divided it into two categories. One is the structure of the pitch, like how many slides do I have? Where should I start? Should I start with the problem and then market research and that? So the structure, you might change it if you go to a lot of pitch sessions and don't get any. So you might think that maybe the structure of my pitch is not good. Maybe I have to change the slides and kind of, shuffle some of the slides to get to the good rhythm of the pitch. The second thing, which can get updated much more frequently, is just the data inside the pitch. Because from pitch number one to the number two that has like 2 weeks kind of time in between, you might do a lot of other research. You might talk with more customers, you might do more market research. So definitely you update the data in the pitch as frequently as possible. But then the structure is more of a A/B testing based on your pitch and how much success you will get off of each percentage.
I'd also like to add, first, that was a great question by the audience via Zoom. As an entrepreneur myself, I always like to think of all my business documents as a living document, meaning that I'm never done updating or finalizing my business plan, my elevator pitch, or an actual pitch that I may be using to secure capital. In addition, oftentimes when you compete at these various pitch offerings, they'll give you some type of format to stay within, usually recommendation of slides. And most often, from my experience, what I found is making sure that you have a clear, concise, and refined mission statement, vision, the need that you're addressing, the problem, and how you're going to address that problem, the value that you're bringing to address that need, your financial projections, as well as an opportunity to identify your core team members. So that way you can build rapport with potential investors. And then I also like to add in, if possible, where we're at, where have we been, where are we now, and where do we plan to be in the future with this capital that we're securing through this pitch competition.
Way to start formulating an idea into a pitch.
Can you say that again?
What is the best way to start formulating an idea into a pitch?
The question was where to start from ideation to pitch, correct? Yes. So how do you start from your ideation of your business and creating a pitch? I know what I think my students would answer. I would say business plan, but
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a business plan. You said it. You said it earlier,
yes.
Pablo, which is, if you don't, I mean, you have an idea, I would just start creating a structure so your ideas are organized. And exactly what Professor Ortiz said, which is have a mission, have a vision, have some idea of what your service offering, what is it you want to offer? Pricing, start thinking of numbers, start nailing down a business plan. And that is gonna be what your pitch is going to be based off of. It just gives you a structure that makes sense.
I would enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, the third question is, how much help would SBIR or STTR, that is Small Business Innovation Grant related programs, be in addition to reaching out to angel or VC funds? Are these difficult in funding from?
Can you repeat the initial part of the question, please?
How much
Oh, I'm
help?
sorry. All right. Thank you so much for drawing my attention to that. That would have been helpful. A couple of questions earlier. All right, here's the question. How much help would SBIR or STTR, Small Business Innovation Grants, kind of programs do in addition to reaching out for angel or VC funds? What are pros and cons? Are these difficult to seek funding from for early startups?
Okay, I think I'll take this. Either ways, it's competitive. Even the grants are competitive. I did research for this company called Cardinal Point Communications. Angela and I, we worked on a consulting project with them. I know that there are grants, all kinds of grants. It's for everyone, and each state has something in every sector. But again, it's very competitive. They're going to ask you for everything, and it's heavy on compliance. Grants are very heavy on compliance. I think that could be a con. and it's heavy on reporting. You have to really have a very tight budget, a budget that you can sell to those people who are providing these grants, and you have to stick to that budget. You cannot be saying that, okay, my expenses, my overheads were this when I submitted the business plan. Now, whoop, I'm making a bit of change. I'm using the money for this. It cannot be like that for grants. For angel investors or any kind of other investors, possibly, but I don't think that would happen. So I think that's the con. Uh, Pros, I mean, any kind of funding that you're going for, I think the process is the same. You go for a loan, you go for a grant, you go for any kind of other investors, the process is very much the same. So I don't really see any pros there. You have to go through the process. So yeah.
I agree with what Bags just said. And I would also say a pro just might be your own preference. Rather, if you'd rather pitch to an angel investor or a VC just because you like it better, I personally would prefer that. I think the idea of grants just gives me a headache. So I'd rather pitch in front of people and bring my whole self and have myself be seen and have them feel my energy, whereas grants are a little more, maybe a con would be they're just more flat. Unless there's an interview process for the grants,
I'll
pass that on.
just, do you want
Please
to?
go.
Okay. Another thing I would want to add is, like Mason mentioned earlier, that it's a partnership. So you might want to see it in a way where this is not just you getting funding and, let's get going with our business. This is if you have a product and it needs some sort of expertise, advisory council, which is really heavy on, say academia or research, it needs a lot of industry expert kind of work, then you go for angel investors, you go for private equity, because those guys are also going to mentor you. They're going to advise you on how to conduct your business. So pick your investors according to the stage of your company and obviously what exactly you're selling and what you want it to be in the future.
I think grants are great specifically for international students. So I think it's, from my understanding, it's slightly easier. However, there might be some kind of research work attached to those grants. So not only you have to do your business, you have to also satisfy some branch-specific requirements. So that being said, if you need money to start up your own business, you have to keep all the options table. So no matter if it's an angel investor or a grant, and there are lots of grants, as Bags mentioned, there are lots of opportunities available at the federal level and state level. Organizations such as NSF, NIH, World Bank, even a lot of corporations have specific, grants or even internal venture capital kind of subsidiary that fund new ideas that are related to the work and business of that specific industry. So, for example, in Capital One, we have an internal venture capital who, these guys actively, are seeking potential investments in fintech, in banking, that type of thing. The same thing back in CBS, PayPal, we had the same thing. So just be aware of there are lots of opportunities available. Again, as Bags mentioned, you need to be strategic. If you need network and partnership, maybe angel investors and VCs are better. If you just want to have some money to start your idea without sacrificing the ownership and equity, grants are awesome and are the best. Just be cognizant about what you want and be strategic.
I'd also like to add the importance of having a relationship with your local chamber of commerce. When you are interacting with like-minded business professionals, by the very nature of that networking, you're going to understand what opportunities may present themselves within that small element of like-minded individuals. So when it comes to securing, capital through grants or other various means, I don't see any cons personally as an entrepreneur. I look at it every opportunity as one in which I have an ability to learn, strengthen my ability to present and pitch, refine my pitch. And then the more audiences that I get in front of, the more repetitions that I have, the more comfortable I am interacting in all areas of capital, securing capital in any environment. So in my humble opinion, I don't think any opportunity that you pursue is a con as long as you're taking it with a grain of salt, understanding that odds are you're not going to get it the first time, but having the mindset of that growth mindset of saying, okay, there's areas that I know I'll be able to improve. And I also like to, always keep in mind that as long as you're doing the work and you're preparing yourself for the eventual outcome that you have envisioned in your mind, at some point that will come to fruition. It just may not be at the time that you anticipated. So just keep continuing to do what you do, keep pitching, and keep looking at ways to secure capital for your business venture.
Professor Rubin, I just want to piggyback on the point that you mentioned about the Chamber of Commerce in each state and each city. So one very tactical thing. So sometimes these grants are really, uh, defined for a specific type of business. So when you form your startup and establish your company, there are some codes that you have to assign to your companies as more of a scope of your business. Before you sign any code, it's good to study some of these grants that you're looking for. And if they're dedicated to a specific scope of business, you probably need to use those specific codes in your company formation to be eligible to apply to those grants. So if you don't do that, you might learn about it in future and miss that deadline. So just tactical.
Yes, and what MASAM is referring to is NAICS codes, NAICS codes, which is an industry index that defines each business venture by a code in which how you can also use to file your taxes, as well as potentially become eligible for certain grants and things of that nature based upon the code that you choose or codes that you choose. All right, I believe we have our last question. And thank you so much for our wonderful IT team. Thank you. This is, so we have Simone Scott. As a new business owner with a passion mission, where is a great place to start to begin uncovering and deep diving into capital investments for those less experienced? Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, where is a great place?
To begin uncovering and deep diving into capital investments for the less experienced.
I would say talk to someone really experienced. Professor to begin with. It's a great point. But yeah, I think books and everything is great. There's a lot of data out there on how to start that journey. But I think the more and more you talk to people who've been in this space and have done this multiple times, I think that would be great. Start there, start with your network, talk to people. That's a good start.
Yeah, the fact that you are in this session is that you started that journey, and that's great. So you need to keep continuing, getting in front of other people. Just again, as Bag mentioned, mentorship, coaching, and they say that you are the average of 5 people that you are so close to. So you need to be very close to like-minded people, people who are passionate about running the business, taking risks, uh, you know, try new ideas. So you need to be within the group of, within a group of those people. So make sure that you find those people, you start your network with them. And then as you talk more with them, you will be engaged in this type of sessions, you learn more and you can go.
I agree with everything Mason and Bags just said, but I'd also say your network keeps growing. You already have a network in this room. And so you can just start here, but it keeps growing and growing. It's not going to be just like a network of 5 people or 10. And as you put yourself out there and you put your idea out into the universe, really, you will find that it's going to come to you. You'll be attracting people who are going to help you. So if you're interested really in starting your own business, start letting people know, and you will find the right people to help you. Any one of us will help too, if you need any help.
All right, that will conclude our question and answer portion for tonight's panel. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. And before we conclude, I'd like to pass it over to my colleague, Dr. Mangani, for closing remarks.
All right. Thank you all. All right, thank you again, our panelists, Angela, Mason, Badiatri, for sharing your expertise and thoughtful perspectives. And a big thank to everyone in the audience for your participation and attention. We hope you leave today with new insights and a better understanding on how to elevate your pitch, and hopefully you'll be ready next week, and the week after that. Are you ready?
Hell yes.
I have
Yeah,
one
we
in
are.
2 days, so
Yeah.
I guess I am. Half of us are in another class.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So just take all of this and then, make it perfect for us next. All right. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you again for attending tonight's panel discussion. I really appreciate all our panelists today, as well as my moderator, co-moderator, Dr. Lingani. Thank you. GPI as well for your support throughout. At this time, what we'll do is we'll open it up to interactions. Feel free to come up, ask questions, interact with the panelists. And if you are in attendance in my course tonight, this does conclude your participation for the class, so you all get to get out early to the celebration. And yes, I'll do the attendance as well. But without further ado, you're welcome to engage, network. And outside of that, you're free to leave tonight. Thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay here, not move.
Gonna make my way around.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Oh, I'm so.